You were never meant to chase what you were born to attract. Hear me clearly. You were not created to run after blessings. You were anointed to carry them. Chosen one, your entire life has looked like a contradiction. You've been overlooked by many, misunderstood by most, and betrayed by the very ones you tried to help. But through every season of drought, heartbreak, and loneliness, heaven was watching. And now, what once felt like delay is being revealed as divine design. You've been marked for a different kind of abundance, not the world's version of wealth, but heaven's overflow. And now wealth is chasing you. Let that sink in. Not because of how hard you've worked, not because you begged for it, but because you survived what was sent to break you, because you stayed faithful when no one saw your tears, because when others gave up, you kept walking. You didn't chase money, you chased meaning. You weren't hungry for fame, you were thirsty for purpose. And God saw it all. Every quiet moment of sacrifice, every time you forgave instead of retaliated, every time you prayed instead of panicked. That's the kind of obedience that moves heaven. And now, the heavens are opening over your life. There was a reason you didn't fit in, a reason the rooms you entered got uncomfortable, a reason the fake ones left. You carry a frequency that can't be faked. It comes from fire, the fire of your trials, the fire of rejection, the fire of spiritual warfare. While others were building platforms, you were being purified. While they chased clout, you were being called. And that call is echoing now in the spirit realm. The chosen one is rising. You weren't crazy for seeing visions in your sleep. You weren't wrong for hearing things others couldn't understand. You were awakening, spiritually maturing, stepping into your divine inheritance. That shaking you felt in your soul was the sound of old systems breaking. You were never meant to play small, never meant to be average. You were sent to be a divine disruptor, and that's why wealth is being magnetized to you now. Not just finances, but favor. Not just riches, but resources. Not just luxury, but legacy. Because you've been trusted with pain, you're now being trusted with prosperity. You didn't worship money. You didn't worship popularity. You worshiped the one who sits on the throne even when your world was falling apart. You held on to God when everything in you wanted to let go. And that kind of faith, it doesn't go unnoticed. The enemy tried to distract you with poverty mindsets, with scarcity lies, with fear-based delays. But the truth was always bigger than the illusion. You weren't losing, you were being launched. You weren't falling, you were being formed. Every closed door was divine protection. Every detour was a setup for destiny. You're not just anyone. There is a seal on your spirit, a divine fingerprint on your life that darkness cannot erase. And even though they mocked your dreams, even though they laughed at your obedience, you kept walking with your crown in your hand, even when it felt too heavy to carry. And now the weight is becoming a witness. The pressure is becoming power. The pain is turning into provision. Yes, wealth is chasing you now. You may have been born in a month the world forgot, but heaven remembers. The month of your birth holds spiritual significance, a prophetic symbol of the season you are walking into now. Whether it was the birthing wind of April or the fiery spirit of August, the stillness of December or the resurrection light of March, your birth carried divine timing. You weren't an accident. You weren't a coincidence. You were born with sacred timing for a holy reason. And here's the mystery. When you were born, your spirit already knew the battles ahead. Your soul chose the assignment. Before the foundations of the earth were laid, heaven said, "This one will rise. This one will endure. This one will not be broken." That's why your storms were greater. That's why your warfare felt heavier, because your anointing is heavier. And now the angels assigned to your life are being activated to release what was stored up for such a time as this. Everything that was delayed is catching up to you. Everything you were denied is about to knock on your door. You're stepping into an anointing that attracts favor, attracts opportunities, attracts restoration, but not by your striving, by your surrender. God saw when you chose healing instead of revenge. He saw when you gave instead of hoarded, when you blessed others from your own lack, when you lifted others while you were still bleeding. That kind of heart, it touches heaven. That kind of spirit, it invites increase. You were never meant to operate in a begging spirit. You were meant to live in overflow. And the reason it didn't happen sooner? Because God was refining your character to carry what's coming. Because not everyone around you could go where you're going. Because you had to be cleansed of false attachments, toxic habits, and soul ties that would have contaminated your next level. You thought it was punishment, but it was protection. You thought it was delay, but it was divine redirection. Now the tide is turning. The current is shifting in your favor. And the wealth that you didn't chase, the life that you only dreamed about, the vision you quietly held in your heart while others mocked you, it's coming. Fast, with clarity, with confirmation, with heavenly backing. You won't have to force anything. You won't have to prove anything. The fruit will speak for itself. The light will shine through your obedience. And what was once a wilderness is becoming your promised land. So don't be surprised when the doors start opening, when the people who ignored you start calling, when the divine appointments you couldn't have orchestrated begin showing up in your path. You didn't chase wealth, you chased God. And now, everything you need is being added to you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. The old you wouldn't recognize what's coming, but the healed you, the chosen you, is ready to receive. You didn't wait this long for nothing. You've been prepared for such a time as this. You've fought battles in the spirit that most people never saw. You've walked through valleys that nearly crushed your soul, and still you never bowed to darkness. Chosen one, what you've carried in silence, the heaviness, the warfare, the endless opposition, wasn't because you were weak. It was because you were chosen, not chosen to be popular, not chosen to be praised, but chosen to war for your destiny and win. You've been in the fire not to be burned, but to be built. And now the fire has forged you into a vessel that can carry the glory of God and the weight of divine wealth. You were never ordinary. Your enemies knew it before you did. That's why they came for your mind. That's why they tried to sabotage your peace. That's why they tried to confuse your identity. But they underestimated your resilience. They didn't know who was standing with you. Heaven has been backing you the entire time. While they plotted in secret, angels were encamped around you. While they laughed at your struggle, heaven was scripting your elevation. This wasn't just about surviving. It was about preparation. It was about becoming someone who can receive wealth without it destroying your soul. Because God isn't just giving you money, He's giving you mandate. This is wealth with purpose. Wealth that flows from your alignment with divine truth. Wealth that follows obedience, not greed. Wealth that was promised in Deuteronomy 28:11. The Lord will grant you abundant prosperity in the fruit of your womb, the young of your livestock, and the crops of your ground, in the land He swore to your ancestors to give you. That kind of wealth. Spiritual, emotional, generational, and it's coming because you didn't give up in the famine. You praised in the drought. You sowed when others were hoarding. You held on to your vision even when all you had was a whisper of hope. You didn't walk away, and now God is walking you into overflow. The truth is, many of the people who fought you didn't even realize why they were doing it. It wasn't personal, it was spiritual. The spirit in them could sense the oil on you. The assignment on your life provoked the demons in theirs. You were triggering their insecurity. Your anointing was agitating their complacency. So they mocked you, betrayed you, lied about you. But even their cruelty was part of the process. God used it all to strengthen you. And now they're about to witness your table being prepared. Psalm 23:5 says it best. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. That cup, chosen one, is about to overflow in front of the very ones who doubted your calling, not for revenge, but for revelation. So they know it was never you, it was the God in you. The presence they mocked is the same presence about to promote you, and it won't make sense to them because your elevation will not match their logic, but it will match heaven's timeline. You've always had spiritual power. You just didn't always recognize it. The authority you carry isn't from this world. It's not found in titles or possessions. It's found in obedience. When you chose light over darkness, when you refused to retaliate, when you prayed instead of cursed, when you fasted in secret and interceded for people who stabbed you in the back. That's power. That's royalty. That's spiritual maturity. And because you walked in that integrity, God is releasing divine reward. Luke 16:10 tells us, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much." You were tested with little, now you'll be trusted with much. Wealth is chasing you not because you asked for it, but because you're ready to steward it, because your heart stayed clean while your life was under attack, because you gave when you had every excuse to keep, because you encouraged others while you were breaking. That's what makes you different. That's why you're rising. You are not like the rest. And that truth terrifies your enemies. They're starting to realize they couldn't break you, that every time they came against you, you came back stronger, that every storm only made you shine brighter. That's the thing about God's favor. It multiplies under pressure. The more they tried to bury you, the deeper your roots went. And now you're blooming in places you were once bleeding. What was meant to be your burial is becoming your birthplace. You're not just surviving anymore, you're thriving in spirit, in clarity, in calling, and soon, in tangible wealth. The doors they tried to block are about to open wide. The connections they cut off are being replaced with divine alliances. What they stole is returning sevenfold. Because you're not chasing anything, you're attracting it. Your obedience is magnetic. Your energy is shifting. Your prayers are unlocking dimensions. The same people who dismissed you will now watch from a distance as the glory of God surrounds your life. Isaiah 60:1-5 says, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Nations will come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn. The wealth on the seas will be brought to you. To you, the riches of the nations will come." That's your promise. That's your season. Don't let your past pain make you forget your future inheritance. You didn't come this far to be average. You were born for glory. The heaviness you felt wasn't a punishment. It was a prophecy in motion. You were being stretched to carry something greater than you ever imagined. Wealth isn't a reward for your suffering. It's a tool for your purpose. And now, because you are healed, humble, and holy, heaven is unlocking what the enemy tried to block. Watch how fast it comes, how effortlessly it flows, not because you earned it, but because God is faithful, because you've matured enough to manage it, because you've been purified in the fire, and now it's time for the gold to rise. The life they said you'd never have is forming right before their eyes. The abundance they said was impossible is becoming undeniable. And you won't have to explain it. You won't have to chase it. You'll just walk in it, gracefully, prophetically, and powerfully. Because, chosen one, wealth is not running from you. It's been looking for you all along. Divine justice is not always loud. It doesn't always come in lightning bolts or thunderous signs. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in the form of peace you didn't have before, in the clarity that replaces confusion, in the favor that follows you like a shadow. Chosen one, you're walking into a reversal that only heaven could orchestrate. You've cried behind closed doors for years, but now you'll smile in the open, not because everything is perfect, but because the weight has finally lifted. The fight is shifting, and justice is finding its way to you. The pain they caused, God saw it. Every lie spoken behind your back, every time they tried to block your progress, every silent betrayal, nothing went unnoticed by the one who sits on the throne. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being observed, and not just observed, documented. Psalm 56:8 says, "You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle." You have recorded each one in your book. That means every tear had purpose. Every heartbreak carried weight in heaven. And now the scales are tipping. You're not entering just another chapter. You're stepping into divine recompense. God is not merely restoring what you lost. He is multiplying it. And not just in material form, but in dignity, in joy, in vision, in strength. What the enemy tried to kill in you is coming back to life. The gifts you buried to survive are awakening. The dreams you silenced to fit in are resurrecting. The voice you once hid is rising with authority. And as that happens, doors are opening. Not ordinary doors, divine ones, the kind of doors no man can shut. Revelation 3:8 says, "See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut." That door is your inheritance. That door is your release. You've entered the realm of reversal. And this isn't karma. This is kingdom justice. God is turning the last into the first, the forgotten into the favored, the rejected into the remembered. Because you refused to get bitter, now you're getting better. Because you refused to curse those who cursed you, now you're blessed beyond what makes sense. And it's not just about you, it's about the ones who come after you. You're breaking generational cycles, you're shifting entire bloodlines. Your elevation is prophetic, it's legacy. But let's pause here and breathe this in. You need to hear this. It wasn't your fault. The rejection, it wasn't about your worth. The delays, they weren't a reflection of your failure. What happened to you was real, but it was never meant to define you. The trauma, the betrayal, the abandonment, those were tactics. Spiritual attacks meant to convince you to settle, to dim your light, to forget who you are, but it didn't work. You're still here, still standing, still chosen. And now comes the healing. Real healing. Not the kind you perform for the world, but the kind that flows deep into your soul. The kind that restores your confidence. The kind that reminds you that you're already whole. Not because of what you have, but because of who holds you. Isaiah 61:7 says, "Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance." That is your word, that is your promise. And the inheritance is already being released. You are not behind. You are right on schedule, divine schedule. The enemy tried to tell you that it was too late, that you missed your window, that the pain was pointless, but the devil is a liar. There is no delay in heaven's timing. God was preparing your table while you were walking through the valley. He was building your next while others were trying to bury your now. And now, chosen one, the time has come. The trumpet has sounded, the gates are opening, and what is being released cannot be stopped. So receive this in your spirit. Your enemies are not your focus anymore. Their energy no longer matters. You don't need their apology. You don't need their approval. You don't need closure, because God is your completion. He's already spoken, and what he said is final. "Vengeance is mine," declares the Lord. "I will repay." Romans 12:19. But don't wait for revenge, wait for release. Wait for the oil that flows when you let go. Let God handle it, and he will. The favor on your life is your vindication. The fruit you bear will be your proof. And now, as you move forward, it's time to realign your thoughts with truth. You are not broken, you are rebuilt. You are not poor, you are positioned. You are not lost, you are led. And the wealth that's coming isn't just to make you comfortable. It's to establish God's kingdom on earth through your hands. You will build, you will give, you will bless, you will fund visions, you will sow into lives. You will be the answer to prayers others whispered at midnight. Because wealth is not your God. God is your source, and he's chosen you as a channel. So now step out of survival mode, step into receiving mode. Let your heart be open to overflow. Let your mind believe again. Let your spirit expand to hold the harvest. You are no longer in the wilderness. You are standing at the river. And as the waters part, Everything that was once withheld is rushing in. Opportunities, property, favor, love, health, vision, divine downloads, acceleration. This is your recompense season. This is your reversal hour. This is your reward for enduring when it didn't make sense, for staying loyal to God when you had every reason to walk away. You didn't chase wealth, but wealth is chasing you now, because heaven declared your name, because the King has remembered your file, and because everything that once worked against you is about to work in your favor. Stand tall, speak boldly, walk humbly. You've been approved in the Spirit, and your harvest is already in motion. Let's go deeper now, because this moment you're stepping into is not random. It's deeply spiritual. You've probably asked yourself more than once, why did it have to happen like this? Why so much pain, so much loss, so many closed doors? The answer, because what you carry is not ordinary. Your path had to be different because your purpose is different. The attacks weren't punishment. They were prophecy in disguise. They were tailored training grounds for your destiny. Let me tell you something sacred. The enemy doesn't waste energy on those who don't matter. He doesn't come for the ones with no impact. He targets the ones heaven has marked, the ones with generational assignments. That's you. You were never just fighting for yourself. Your battles were bigger than your name, deeper than your situation. You've been standing in the gap for your bloodline, for your future lineage, for the divine calling stitched into your soul before you ever breathed your first breath. And that's why they came for you, not because you were weak, but because you were strong, because the enemy saw glimpses of your future before you did. He saw the oil on your life and tried to contaminate it with doubt. He saw the favor rising and tried to bury it under betrayal. He knew what was coming, and he was terrified. So he sent distractions, he sent pain, he sent counterfeits, but he couldn't stop you, because what God has ordained cannot be canceled by man. John 10:29 says, "My Father who has given them to me is greater than all. No one can snatch them out of my Father's hand." You were held the entire time, even when it didn't feel like it, even when the world fell apart, even when you were grieving silently and smiling publicly. Heaven held you, angels warred for you, and your soul kept saying yes, even when your flesh was exhausted. That's why you're still here. That's why you're still rising. Now look around. The people who used to drain you, gone. The environments that dulled your spirit, shifting. The illusions you used to chase, crumbled. Why? Because clarity has come. Because God has removed what couldn't walk with you into wealth. This wasn't rejection, it was redirection. It wasn't punishment, it was protection. You were being hidden until the right time, preserved until the right space, matured for the right season. And now that season is here. But let's be honest, it hurt. It hurt to lose people you loved. It hurt to be the strong one, always holding everything together. It hurt to keep pouring into others and still feel empty yourself. But the pain had purpose. It softened you without breaking you. It expanded your heart without hardening it. It crushed the ego but preserved the spirit. And now you understand what real power is. Not control but surrender. Not dominance but discernment. Not chasing but attracting through alignment. That's divine law, the paradox of heaven. In the kingdom, the first becomes last, and the last becomes first. The meek inherit the earth. The ones who mourn are the ones comforted. It makes no sense to the carnal mind, but it's the code of heaven. Luke 6:38 says, "Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap." You gave when no one gave back. You loved when others withdrew. You stayed when you had every reason to walk away. And now, heaven is returning it, shaken together and running over. And here's the deeper truth. The reason you were attacked wasn't just because of what you carried, but because of what you refused to become. You wouldn't sell out. You wouldn't compromise. You wouldn't bow to manipulation or blend in just to be accepted. You chose authenticity over applause, and that made you dangerous in the spirit realm. You were never supposed to be liked. You were born to be light. Even when others misunderstood you, you stayed pure. Even when you were surrounded by gossip, you stayed silent. Even when your name was dragged through the mud, you kept your hands clean. That's why you're about to be honored, because the heavens reward integrity, and the elevation that's coming for you is not based on popularity. It's based on principle. It's rooted in a life that chose the narrow road, and because you chose that road, God is placing you in a wide space, a place of freedom, of abundance, of rest. Psalm 18:19 says, "He brought me out into a spacious place. He rescued me because he delighted in me." That's what's happening now. You are being brought out of survival, out of limitation, out of the wilderness, out of the shadows. But here's something you need to know. This elevation will test you too, not in suffering, but in stewardship. Will you remember who carried you here when the wealth comes? Will you keep the same purity, the same praise, the same posture of surrender? Because this wealth isn't coming to show off. It's coming to show God off. It's coming so you can be a lighthouse to others still lost in the storm. It's coming so your testimony becomes someone else's breakthrough. And here's the beauty of it all. It's not even hard anymore. The grace has shifted. Where it once felt like striving, it now feels like flowing. Where it once took everything to survive, now doors open without effort. That's how you know it's divine. It doesn't drain you, it empowers you. It doesn't confuse you, it confirms you. That's what happens when you enter your season, when you finally align with what heaven has been preparing all along. You're not chasing it, it's chasing you, because wealth knows where it belongs. And now everything that once rejected you, resources, people, opportunities, open doors, is turning and running after you. Not because you begged, but because you became. You became the version of yourself that can handle it. You became the vessel that can carry it. You became the voice that can release it. And now the blessing is chasing obedience. The favor is finding integrity. The wealth is tracking righteousness. And you, chosen one, you are finally ready. Look at you now, chosen one. Look at everything you've come through, the scars, the silence, the solitude, and yet you're still here, still breathing, still rising. Not because life was easy, but because grace refused to let you fall. Not because you always felt strong, but because your spirit never stopped saying, "I believe." Heaven saw you even when others ignored you, and now heaven is honoring you in ways that will silence every lie spoken against you. You are not who they said you were. You're not what the circumstances tried to define you as. You are chosen. You are royalty. You are God's appointed vessel, and the crown you carry wasn't placed on your head by man, so man cannot remove it. No amount of gossip can cancel your grace. No amount of delay can deny your destiny. No amount of loss can block what is spiritually yours. And now it's your time to receive. Let this truth settle in your heart. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth. Your life will speak for itself. The fruit you bear will reveal the roots you grew in secret. The favor you walk in will expose the hand of God on your life. The very ones who once questioned you will stand in awe at how God kept you, raised you, and blessed you beyond what they thought was possible. They thought you were chasing success, chasing validation, chasing dreams. But in truth, you were chasing God. You were seeking truth. You were pursuing alignment. And now wealth is chasing you because you carry divine authority, because you operate under open heavens, because your posture of surrender has unlocked supernatural provision. Not just enough, not barely, but overflow. You are entering into Amos 9:13-15. Things are going to happen so fast your head will swim. Everywhere you look, blessings. Blessings like wine pouring off the mountains and hills. This isn't fantasy. This is fulfillment. This is what happens when faith matures, when obedience becomes your lifestyle, when you no longer strive to be seen but simply rest in being sent. You've crossed over from striving into stewarding, from waiting into walking, from praying into receiving. But let's take this slow and let your spirit absorb the final stretch of this word. Your identity isn't in your bank account. It's not in your title, your status, your possessions. It's in your posture, in your presence, in your ability to hold the weight of purpose without letting it crush your soul. That's true wealth. The peace you carry, the clarity you exude, the love you give when no one's watching. You became rich in spirit before you became rich in resources. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you ready. God isn't blessing you because you chased wealth. He's blessing you because you trusted Him when you had nothing, because you didn't abandon your post when the warfare intensified, because you didn't curse your calling when it got lonely, because you kept your heart pure when bitterness knocked at the door. That's why this moment feels holy, because it is. What's coming to you now will carry the fragrance of heaven. It will be undeniable, irrefutable, supernatural, and not for your glory, but for God's. You are about to become a walking testimony of what happens when someone gives God a full, obedient yes. The kind of yes that surrenders timing, that lets go of comparison, that says, I'll wait as long as it takes, because I know what you're building in me is greater than what I can see. So here you are now, standing on the edge of something sacred. You don't need to chase anymore. You've been faithful. You've been obedient. You've been hidden long enough. Now it's time to rise. Step into your blessing with boldness. Walk in your authority with grace. Let your testimony speak louder than your trauma. Let your presence shift rooms, not with arrogance, but with anointing. The kind of presence that says God did this and only God could have. Don't shrink to make others comfortable. Don't apologize for the favor that follows you. Don't downplay the miracles just to fit into conversations you've outgrown. You are not in the season of explanation. You are in the season of elevation. Wealth is chasing you because you finally understand. You're not here to hoard, but to pour. You're not here to build ego, but to build altars. You're not here to be seen. You're here to reflect the one who sees all. So take sacred action. Whatever God is nudging you to do it. The door is open. The time is now. Step into the assignment, sow the seed, start the project, heal the people, shine the light. Whatever it is, move with boldness, because you have divine backing. God has already gone before you, and now He is walking with you. Receive this last word with your full heart. The blessing of the Lord makes rich, and He adds no sorrow with it. Proverbs 10:22. This is your inheritance. This is your confirmation, and this chosen one is your time.